Hi everyone, I'm Beth from the West Dallas Public Library, and welcome to the final day in the Who Was King Tut story in our Who HQ Summer Book Club. Don't forget to sign up for the summer reading program where you get a free book just for signing up. And after that you earn a lot of great raffle tickets for more fun prizes. All right, so we are on chapter 9 of Who Was King Tut. This one is about Howard Carter. Do you remember who he was? Yeah, he found Tut's tomb. Howard Carter was born in England in 1874. He was the son of an artist who made paintings of animals. Carter first went to Egypt when he was only 17 years old. He was part of a group exploring, we're going back to Tut's father, Amenhotep's city of Amarna. He drew pictures of the ruins. For a while, Carter also made money painting pictures of famous monuments to sell to tourists. Altogether, he spent 17 years living in Egypt. The longer he was there, the more interested he became in archaeology. He grew certain that there was still an unopened tomb of a pharaoh, and he was determined to find it. His search took place in the Valley of the Kings, which is on the western banks of the Nile near the modern city of Luxor. The ancient tombs had been cut deep into the rock, with long hallways leading to the burial places. It was going to take a lot of money and a large crew if Howard Carter hoped to uncover a hidden tomb. At first, some Americans put up the money for a dig. A dig is the name for this sort of exploration. Then, in 1907, an English Lord Carnarvon, agreed to help out Howard Carter. Lord Carnarvon loved horses and cars. He first came to Egypt only because his doctors had told him to. He had had an accident, and the hot, dry climate would be good for his health. Once he was there, he became interested in the country's long history. When Howard Carter came to him, Lord Carnarvon gave him enough money to keep digging in the Valley of the Kings for many years. Howard Carter kept searching in one special area. He was sure Tut was buried there. He believed robbers had overlooked the tomb because it was in a low-lying part of the cemetery. A flood could have washed away all signs of the entrance. But many other archaeologists thought it was a bad place to look. An empty tomb of another pharaoh had been found nearby. It seemed unlikely that two tombs of pharaohs would be so close to each other. Still, Carter never lost faith that he was in the right place. Once a cup turned up. Another time the crew came upon some thin sheets of gold foil. They had Tut's name on them in hieroglyphs. Year after year, Carter and his crew kept on digging. At one point, they hit something hard. Everyone got excited, but all they found were workers' huts. After that, Lord Carnarvon was ready to call it quits. How much longer could the search go on? But Howard Carter pleaded to continue the dig just for a little while longer. Maybe, just maybe, there was something else under the stone huts. In November of 1922, the crew started digging again. A few days later, they found a step. That might not seem like something very important, but it was cut right into the rock. Pharaoh's tombs were cut into the rock too. Even more amazing, under that step was another step, and another. Howard and his crew unearthed a secret staircase leading to a door. But what was behind it? What everyone in the crew wanted to do was open the door right there and then. But Howard Carter did not think that was fair. Lord Carnarvon deserved to be there too. But Lord Carnarvon was far away in England. Howard Carter told the crew that they'd just have to wait for Lord Carnarvon to get there. Of course, as soon as he learned the exciting news, Lord Carnarvon set out for Egypt. Today, it would take about 5 hours to fly from London to Cairo. Back then, there were not many planes. So how long did it take him to finally reach Carter and his crew? How long do you think? Lord Carnarvon going from England to Egypt. Not many planes. So he didn't take a plane. How long do you think it took him? It took him 2 weeks. So they had to be very patient. But at last, Lord Carnarvon arrived. His daughter came too. And Howard Carter was about to learn what was on the other side of the door. Oh, okay. So, a little blurb about Lord Carnarvon. I'm sorry, I keep changing how to say it. I really don't know. Lord Carnarvon's full name was George Edward Steppenhope Molyneux Herbert, 5th Earl of Carnarvon. That's a mouthful. Born in 1866, he was an English aristocrat who had a lot of money. And he sponsored Carter's dig until Tut's tomb was found in 1922. Only a few months later, Lord Carnarvon died suddenly. But the likely cause was an infected mosquito bite. But many people believed that Lord Carnarvon was a victim of the curse of Tutankhamun. They were sure that he had died because he had disturbed the pharaoh's tomb. His death led to many rumors of other mummy curses. Chapter 10. Gold everywhere. When the door was opened, what lay beyond was a path full of rocks and pebbles. At the end was another door. Howard Carter knocked a hole in it. When he looked through, he held up a flickering candle in the darkness. What did he see? Here's how he described the day of days, the most wonderful I have ever lived through. He said, "At first, I could see nothing. But presently, as my eyes grew accustomed to the light, details of the room within emerged slowly from the mist. Strange animals, statues, and gold everywhere. The glint of gold. I was struck dumb with amazement." Lord Carnarvon was there with his daughter. So was a friend of Carter's. They were all in the dark corridor. Lord Carnarvon called to Howard Carter, "Can you see anything?" Howard Carter said, "Yes, wonderful things." Howard Carter's dream had come true. He had found exactly what he was looking for, the tomb of King Tut. What were some of the wonderful things he first saw? There were 2 overturned chariots, a throne, 3 big couches whose sides were carved in the shape of beasts, a bed with a linen mattress. There were life-size statues of kings. Things were piled every which way. Vases and staffs of different shapes and sizes. One box was for the king's shaving equipment. Other boxes contained meat for Tut to eat. And to the right of the jumble of treasures, Howard Carter saw another door. What did that mean? There were more rooms. There was more treasure. The first room was the antechamber. The following day, Carter and Carnarvon and Carnarvon's daughter returned. They came with electric lamps this time. They wanted to get a better look around. There was a hole in one wall. Peering through it, Carter could see into another room. It became known as the Annex. There was far more stuff in the Annex than in the antechamber. Smaller things like vases and game boards. And everything had been thrown about, all over the floor. Howard Carter realized that long ago, robbers had definitely found their way in, but there was no way to tell what had been taken. All told, there were 4 rooms in the tomb. This is how they were laid out. Hopefully you can see. Another small room was called the treasury. Among the things inside was the chest that contained jars with Tut's internal organs, and the 2 small coffins with baby mummies. The most important room of all was the burial chamber. This was where Tut's mummy had been placed. No one knew if the robbers had broken into the burial chamber too. Chapter 11. Meeting the King. King Tut was lucky. Until Howard Carter entered his burial chamber, his mummy had never been disturbed. For more than 3,000 years, no one had laid eyes on it. In the burial chamber, the first thing Carter saw was a gigantic gold cabinet. Inside of that was a great stone box. And inside of that was the outer mummy case. All 3 beautiful mummy cases fit together very tightly. The innermost one was solid gold, more than 200 pounds of it. That's a lot of gold. When Howard Carter raised its lid, there it was, the cloth-covered mummy of the king. Carter took off the gold mask placed over it. He described it as one of the most beautiful pieces of artwork he had ever seen. Then he carefully peeled away strips of cloth. At last came the most thrilling moment of all. He was face to face with Tut. The pharaoh's face still looked young and calm and peaceful. Nearby was a chest made of white stone called alabaster. Inside were the jars holding the organs of the pharaoh, the ones the priests had removed from his body so long ago. Each jar had a stopper with a head of a god on it. The treasures of Tut's tomb were sent to a museum in Cairo, Egypt, but Howard Carter did not send the king's mummy there. It stayed in the royal burial chamber, right where it belonged. That is where it remains now, in peace. Chapter 12. The legend lives on. Right after Howard Carter's discovery of the tomb, scary stories started to be told. Stories about curses. Over the entrances of many ancient Egyptian tombs were warnings in hieroglyphs. People better stay away, the warning said, because anybody who dared to enter would pay for it. Lord Carnarvon died only a few months after Tut's tomb was opened. A bad insect bite was likely the cause of his death, but many people were sure it was because of the curse. Tut was getting revenge. But if that were so, wouldn't Tut be angrier at Howard Carter? Yet, Howard Carter lived until 1939 and died from natural causes. For some people, stories of a curse add to the mystery of ancient Egypt. They like being scared. That's why horror movies about mummies are so popular. Ancient Egypt was very different from our world, but it was a peaceful world. It was a world of great beauty. The people of ancient Egypt loved life so much, they hoped it would go on forever. If people are lucky enough to see King Tut's precious belongings, this is what they should remember. Okay, I'm going to do one last blurb. This is the end of the story. Ancient Egypt's long history. Historians divide ancient Egypt and the rule of the pharaohs into time periods called kingdoms. The Old Kingdom, which started in 2575 BC, that's more than 4,500 years ago, lasted about 400 years. The Middle Kingdom began in 1975 BC and continued for more than 300 years. The New Kingdom dated from 1539 BC to 1075 BC. King Tut ruled during the New Kingdom. Between these major periods, there were times when Egypt was not an organized empire ruled by one pharaoh. Historians call these intermediate periods. Within the kingdoms and intermediate periods are dynasties. Dynasties identify when a certain family was in power. There were usually many kings in one dynasty. During the New Kingdom, King Tut was the 12th king of the 18th dynasty. During the late period, 715 to 332 BC, Egyptian came under the rule of many different countries and lost much of its power. The late period was followed by the Greco-Roman period. And finally, in 30 BC, Egypt would become a province. In 30 BC, Egypt became a province of the Roman Empire. An Egyptian would not be king again until more than 1,500 years later, in the 19th century AD. Egypt does have a very long history. It's very interesting. If you want more information, stop in the library and we'd be happy to show you the books. Thank you for watching another season, another book in our Who HQ book club. I will see you not next week, but the one after for a brand new book in the series. All right, bye everyone.